At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to a little girl named Furiosa. She is seen picking peaches with her friend named Valkyrie, but not long after. Furiosa saw a riotous motorbike gang entering their area. Furiosa asks Valkyrie to stay quiet and hide, while he himself tried to approach the motorbikes of the group and cut the petrol hoses of the motorbikes. He did this so that they could not leave there before Furiosa called for help. But suddenly, Furiosa was startled by one of the motorbike gangs behind her, while running away. Furiosa then blew a whistle to ask for help. Even though her mother and her colleagues went straight to the location, it was too late. Furiosa was already kidnapped and taken by a motorcycle gang. Quickly, they immediately chased him. After successfully chasing and killing one of the motorbike gang, Furiosa's mother, named Mary, asked her colleague to come back, while he himself would continue the chase. On the other hand, Furiosa is the one who wakes up, tried to cut the motorbike's petrol hose with her teeth, and this caused the motorbike to run out of petrol and die. Even though Furiosa tried to escape, it was all in vain. With quite a long journey, the two motorbike gang members almost reached their headquarters, but suddenly, Mary, who was still chasing him, tried her best to save Furiosa, but unfortunately, one of the motorbike gangs managed to escape and took her to their headquarters. In that situation, they took Furiosa to the Dementis area, the former god of thunder from Asgard who is now retired and is the leader of a motorbike gang. They also told Dementis that Furiosa came from a place that had abundant plants and natural resources, and this was proven when the mechanical doctor examined him. Furiosa has quite good nutrition, even though she was interrogated. Furiosa kept her mouth closed and didn't speak at all. On the other hand, Mary, who is now disguised as one of the gang members, is already preparing to save her daughter by using a sandstorm.
Step up! Please.
But when they managed to escape, the woman who wasn't killed by Mary told all the incident to the Dementis troops. Mary, who had run away, felt that they had been followed. She then gave them peach seeds and asked Furiosa to continue her journey, while she alone, waiting for the motorbike gang to come and trying to measure the time. On the other hand, even though the sandstorm erased Mary's motorbike tracks, Dementis and his troops were able to track their tracks with a dog, until in the end. Furiosa, who realized that her mother had been caught, ran towards her mother, but unfortunately, Mary had been tortured while tied up. Knowing that Mary was Furiosa's mother, Dementis then asked again where they came from. In this condition, critical, they shouted at Furiosa not to tell them about it. With very tragic circumstances, Furiosa could only remain silent and cry when she was forced to witness the death of her mother. Some time passed. Dementis was seen chasing and catching his gang members who were trying to escape, and he also made an offer to kill their leader by riding the 5 motorbikes that had been provided. In other words, only 5 people will be left alive if they manage to get on each motorbike and kill their leader by being pulled from several directions. And this cruelty was witnessed directly by Furiosa. When night fell, Furiosa, who had seen the Dementis advisor making a tattoo, secretly took the tool and made a map of where he came from on her left arm. The next day, the Dementis group continued to search for the green place. One of his men saw someone shooting a flare gun. And when they approached him, Dementis met one of the war boys of Immortan Joe's men.
Where are spirits? It's got everything!
Dementis also asked him whether he knew of a place that had abundant natural resources. Innocently, Warboy said that the place where he lived had lots of plants and quite a lot of water, which in the end they went to where the Warboy came from. When we get there, we will be reintroduced to the leader Immortan Joe, Dementus, who feels that he is a former member of the Avengers, challenges and orders everyone to throw their leader down. And he will replace him, without Dementus realizing it. The loyal war boys were willing to sacrifice themselves for Immortan Joe, and it didn't take long, the Dementus army was easily defeated. On the other hand, the Dementus who saw Furiosa being pulled into the hallway, quickly helped her and ran away from that place. After his defeat, Dementus' ambition and greed to control what Immortan Joe had finally began. With the information he had obtained, Dementus lurked and made plans to take over Immortan Joe's oil base, and when he saw the truck that was going to deliver oil to Immortan Joe's headquarters, Dementus attacked him and managed to take over the truck.
Overall, enough for months!
But that wasn't enough, he continued his plan. He asked his men to disguise themselves as war boys to be able to enter the oil base with the tanker. As if they had been attacked and were trying to return to the base, they put on a play, and to be sure that it was really an attack, dementiackling and slaughtering his own men. The oil base boss, who believed that their truck had been attacked, immediately ordered his men to open the gate. Until finally, they managed to take over the oil base and arrest the Rizdale boss. With his power of attorney who had obtained the oil base, Dementus sent his men and entrusted Rizdale's finger to Immortan Joe. Knowing that his base had been taken over, Immortan Joe, finally willing to negotiate, Rizdale, who was used as a hostage, and the bomb that had been installed at the oil base, became Dementus' weapon to make Immortan Joe have no other choice, and when Rictus tried to approach Dementus, he accidentally touched Dementus' hand and released an arrow which he pointed at Rizdale. In that situation, Immortan Joe met and saw Furiosa. Feeling that Furiosa would be the perfect vessel for his offspring, he agreed to work together with Dementus, on the condition that Dementus could provide Furiosa and the organic mechanic, the only person who understands health. But Dementus refused and said that Furiosa was his daughter. Joe, who didn't believe it, asked Furiosa whether Dementus was her father, and she answered, Dementus was the person who killed his mother and claimed to be his father. In the end, these requirements were carried out, and now Furiosa lives in Immortan Joe's city. Furiosa was then taken into a room, which turned out to be a room filled with Immortan Joe's wives with their trousers padlocked. This was done as a symbol of their loyalty as wife. Even at that time, there was a woman who was about to give birth and was handled directly by a mechanical doctor.
Sorry, boss.
But at that time, the baby was not a boy, in fact. Warboy, who is Immortan Joe's troop, they are all his own biological children, even Rictus, who can't stand and is interested in little Furiosa, one of Immortan Joe's biological children. That night, Furiosa made a plan to escape from there. She shaved off her hair and made it into a wig. And when she fell asleep, the Rictus she couldn't stand anymore, suddenly grabbed and carried Furiosa.
What's this?
Luckily, Furiosa was able to escape when Rictus grabbed her wig.
What are you doing here?
3 years passed. Furiosa turns out to still be in the fort and disguised as a mute war boy. They are gathering to build a war rig.
2 hefty V8 engines, a chassis.
A war rig is a tanker truck equipped with complete weapons to be able to withstand raider attacks when passing through the wasteland, and the truck will be driven by Commander Jack. At that time, the male Rictus who saw Furiosa was suspicious, but luckily, one of the war boys said that Furiosa would have been able to do it a long time ago. Some time passed. When the war rig was finished, Furiosa made a plan to escape by infiltrating the truck driven by Jack, and on the day they were going to exchange food supplies for fuel controlled by Dementis, they were attacked by the Octobos. One of the Dementis gang members had come out and was trying to rob the food supplies. In the chaos, Furiosa, who turned out to be under the car, was trapped by a motorbike that was stuck under the truck. Not quite there, when their truck's engine hose leaked, partner Jack came down to fix it, not realizing that Furiosa was there. He then headed towards the engine pipe, and suddenly when he was attacked and survived on the motorbike that was holding Furiosa. Feeling that Furiosa was one of the war boys, he handed over the hose to her. Realizing what he had to do, Furiosa immediately went to the location of the car engine. After successfully fixing it, Furiosa also helped and finished off the motorbike gangster. But after finishing, Furiosa pointed her gun at Jack and asked him to get down. Even though there was drama that happened, the two of them ended up working together. Because there was no other choice, Jack offered Furiosa as his companion, and he told Furiosa to wait for the right time if he wanted to leave. Because apparently, Jack also had a dream of being free and leaving Immortan Joe's castle. Long story short, Furiosa has now become Jack's companion to deliver and exchange foodstuffs for oil in Gastown, which has now been controlled by Dementis.
Otherwise, we're gonna get our tits caught in the ring.
After finishing, Jack gives Furiosa a weapon. And he said, Furiosa is free to go at any time, including food, drink and whatever needs Furiosa wants for her trip. She is free to decide. A few days later, the exchange routine was carried out again. However, after they provided food supplies, Dementis did a sneaky way by making it seem as if the residents and their groups were causing a riot. With the chaos that occurred, Dementis asked them to leave immediately and come back in a few days, which in the end they returned, with Tank the Empty One. Jack and Furiosa told the incident to Immortan Joe. Hearing that, of course, made the ruler of the desert very angry. With conditions becoming increasingly chaotic, Immortan Joe gave orders to Jack and Furiosa to carry out an attack on Gastown Dementis. Immortan Joe requests they were to take weapons and ammunition from the bullet farm. And when they were going there, Jack felt something was strange. Asked Furiosa to change positions with the war boy. And Jack said, Furiosa was free to go anywhere. In the car she was driving alone, Furiosa was still following Jack from behind towards the bullet farm. And when they got there, the situation was very quiet, making Jack even more suspicious, and suddenly, it turned out that Dementis and his troops had taken over the place. Jack, who is still trapped inside, chooses to continue his mission, and shoots a green flare to ask for help. While Furiosa, who has the opportunity to leave, prefers to help Jack and protect him from a distance. Dementis, who realized that there was a sniper, immediately made his plan. By using his men as shields, he managed to fire a missile at Furiosa before he reloaded his bullet. Jack realized this. crashed his truck towards the tower where the Dementis was located. But unfortunately, the truck jack got stuck and trapped him. Luckily, Furiosa managed to survive, immediately came to help him and ran away from the location. On the other hand, Dementis, who also managed to survive, immediately gave chase. Until finally Dementis managed to catch Jack and Furiosa. In that situation, Jack was tortured and dragged on a motorbike until he died. And when it was Furiosa's turn, Furiosa had run away by cutting off her injured arm. On Furiosa's journey back to Immortan Joe's castle, we will be shown a cameo from Max who sees Furiosa from a distance. And some time later, Furiosa, who had arrived at the fort, immediately told Immortan Joe everything that had happened. Knowing the facts about what had happened, the 40-day desert battle finally took place, and from here,
There always was. So the histories grew.
Furiosa began to have a mechanical arm that she for alone.
Oil wars, water wars, the Battle of the Boomtowns.
During that battle, Dementis lost almost all of his troops, forcing him to flee. On the other hand, Furiosa, who held a grudge, tried to chase Dementis alone. Several days passed. One by one, the remaining Dementis subordinates died at the hands of Furiosa. Even though Dementis and his subordinates scattered, Furiosa managed to chase and kill them all. Until in the end, the wait for revenge came. While torturing him, Furiosa said that he was a small child who was kidnapped 5 years ago and his mother was cruelly slaughtered by Dementis. At the end of the story, we will shown with several scenes about the death of Dementis, but in fact, the Dementis's body was used as a container and food for the peach tree seed that his mother gave him that night. And at the end of the film, the scene will show Furiosa taking Immortan Joe's 5 wives into a tanker car to hide and escape. And the film is finished.